The Senate reconciliation bill, which we have been telling you about for months, weeks now, passed. The senators stayed over the weekend. When there's an opportunity to immiserate millions of people and enrich very wealthy people, these senators will go to the mat. They will give you 120%. And they did it this weekend. They lost 2 votes on essentially moving the bill forward. In other words, ending discussion or cloture. The 2 votes they lost were Tom Tillis from North Carolina. Not super shocking, although wouldn't have been the first one I guessed. And Rand Paul. Rand Paul didn't want to vote for this because it includes a debt ceiling increase. There were other senators who were prepared to vote against it, but when they saw that it actually would kill the bill if they voted against it, they didn't do it.
Do you see Josh Hawley's emo populism that he regrets that some of his constituents are going to be thrown off insurance? But
I think we have a clip of that. Don't we have a clip of that?
Fix it later of Hawley.
Yeah, we should. I think that's in the. But yes, we saw that. It turns out that Josh Hawley, his populism does not run as deeply as he did when folks were attacking the Capitol on January 6th. Nevertheless, the bill, the cloture passed. That means it goes on to debate. But what the Democrats in the Senate did is said that the staffers in the Senate, the secretary, had to read the bill. Usually this is skipped, but the bill is over 950 pages long, and nobody had really seen it for more than 10, 12 hours by the time it was voted upon. And so the Democrats called for it to be read. It was read all through the night until Sunday at some time. And then, as of this morning, the vote-a-rama begins, which is essentially with a reconciliation bill. You cannot prevent amendments from being offered. And so what happens in these instances is that both the Republicans and the Democrats begin to offer amendments so that they can, Republicans, so that they can mitigate the disaster this bill is going to do politically to them, or at least that's the theory. I voted to have an amendment and it was shot down. I voted to, make it possible for there to be green energy. I shot it down. I don't know that there would be any that would say that. Although I think Tom Tillis had a big problem with the green energy aspects of this. And then the Democrats keep adding amendments, some of which are votes that Republicans don't want to have to take, but will. But at the end of the day, this bill itself is so incredibly unpopular, and people haven't even actually begun to feel the impact. If you were thinking about putting solar panels on your house and anticipating that 30% tax cut, then you were thinking, maybe, you know what, I can't afford it this year, but maybe in a year or two I can. That tax cut is going to end at the end of this year. If you are a solar company that started up a year or two ago and thought, I'm going to be able to make this business work because the government is essentially subsidizing with these tax cuts the rollout of this technology. If you're a massive wind farm and you were thinking of building, or you are selling products to other people, I mean, this is going to devastate thousands of businesses. If you were Elon Musk and trying to salvage your failing electric vehicle business, you're screwed. And apparently he's a little bit upset about things. But the list goes on and on. SNAP cuts. Millions of people will go without food assistance, and it'll get even worse in a recession. Here is Harry Enton on CNN. And understand, this is how badly people are perceiving this bill before they actually feel the pain itself.
How do Americans feel about the big, beautiful bill?
Yeah, if we're talking about adjectives, how about they think it's awful, they think it's horrible, and to quote our colleague Charles Barkley, terrible, terrible, terrible. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look at the net favorable rating on the big, beautiful bill. I don't just got one poll for you, Omar. I got 5 of them, and the net favorable rating, minus 19 points, Washington Post, minus 20 points, Pew Research Center, Fox minus 21, Quinnipiac University minus 26, KFF minus 29. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know that when the net favorable rating of your bill is somewhere between minus 19 and minus 29 points, that it is not a positive bill as viewed by the American public. The American public at this particular point hate the big, beautiful bill. As far as they're concerned, it's not a big, beautiful bill. It's a big, bad bill.
It is a big, bad bill. And it is amazing to me that you have mainstream media still referring to it as big, beautiful bill. I mean, it was such a, I can't believe that worked. I can't believe it. I just started calling it, the next bill we're going to try and pass is going to be good thing bill.
The big, beautiful Trump is king bill.
Good bill. You wanted it. You got it. Trump is king bill.
And also the best businessman in American history bill.
Of course, there's huge upward distribution in this bill. I mean, this is a bill that is pushing $930 billion worth of Medicaid cuts and providing $910 billion tax breaks for corporations. And huge upward distribution in terms of taxes across the board. We know the vast majority, both as a real dollar amount and as a percentage of tax cuts, go to the very wealthy. Here is a taste of what Republicans who vote for this bill know. Tom Tillis is going to go in there. He still wants to have a future in Republican politics, mind you. So he's pretending that Donald Trump doesn't understand what he's doing, that he's being tricked by dumb advisors in the White House. No one's telling him the truth, and he's being fooled. Now, listen to Tom Tillis here. Understand he was up for re-election in 2026. He is no longer going to be up for re-election. The rest of the Republicans are basically saying, we are going to rob the bank and we get in the getaway car. Even if we lose the House and the Senate, this is going to have such a negative impact on this country. They just don't think that any of this stuff can be reversed. And on some level, they're going to be right. Here's Tom Tillis.
Between the state-directed payments and the cuts scheduled in this bill, there's a reduction of state-directed payments. And then there's the reduction of the provider tax. They can't find a hole in my estimate. So what they told me is that, yeah, it's rough, but North Carolina's used the system. They're going to have to make it work. All right. So what do I tell 663,000 people in 2 years or 3 years when President Trump breaks his promise by pushing them off of Medicaid because the funding's not there anymore, guys? In the White House, senators advising the president are not telling him that the effect of this bill is to break a promise. And you know, the last time I saw a promise broken around health care, with respect to my friends on the other side of the aisle, It's when somebody said, if you like your health care, you can keep it. If you like your doctor, you can keep it. We found out that wasn't true.
Pause it for a second.
That made
now, I just need to, because I had to go live through this era, make a correction to what Tom Tillis is saying. Obviously, now, he can't get up there and say either A, the president is a inveterate liar, which we all know is the case. And in fact, in this instance, he lied against the people that support him. Or B, he is a complete moron and has no idea what he's pushing, which, arguably, they don't have to be separate things.
Right.
They're not mutually exclusive. But this point about you can keep your doctor if you want, private health insurance does not let you do that. Every year, I can't remember when it is, sometime I think around now, actually, you get notice your doctor's no longer in plan. And if you go to him now, you get like only 25%, coverage. And so when Obama said that, he should have had an asterisk next to it, to the extent that private insurance lets you do that anyways, which of course they don't. But that's their talking point, and Tom Tillis still has to go to the country club once he quits the Senate. Continue.
Get back in the circle of trust.
Like your doctor, you can keep it. We found out that wasn't true. That made me the second Republican Speaker of the House since the Civil War, ladies and gentlemen, because we betrayed the promise to the American people. 3 years later, it actually made me a U.S. Senator, because in 2010, it had just been proposed. And just anticipation of what was going to happen was enough to have a sea change election that swept Republicans into the majority for the second time in 100 years. Now, Republicans are about to make a mistake on health care and betraying a promise. It is inescapable that this bill in its current form will betray the very promise that Donald J. Trump made in the Oval Office or in the cabinet room when I was there with finance, where he said we can go after waste, fraud, and abuse on any programs. Now,
okay, now the irony is the Medicaid, the 630,000 that he's talking about that are going to lose their Medicaid possibly under this, likely, they are on Medicaid because of the Affordable Care Act, which expanded Medicaid. Now, of course, he's not going to tell anybody that, but he needed an analogy. And the fact of the matter is, once it kicked in and people understood at least, it wasn't so much made health insurance significantly affordable. Well, it certainly didn't make it affordable for everybody who was not in the Affordable Care Act. But for everybody who was not part of the exchanges, which is about 11 million Americans, they all got an upgrade on the quality of their health insurance insofar as there was no rescission, there was no lifetime caps, there was no annual caps. That's the patient protection part of the bill. But let's not lose sight of what we're talking about here. This bill is a disaster. Millions are going to get cut from SNAP. Millions are going to get cut from Medicaid. So much of the tiny steps that we've taken in terms of renewable energy is going to go exactly the opposite way with subsidies for oil and gas. Someone just asked, why aren't Democrats filibustering this bill? This is a reconciliation bill. It's a special type of bill that only needs 50+1 in the Senate. And they got 51 votes in the Senate. There are specifics that got wiped out of the bill because of it being a reconciliation bill, but that's what you're missing. Also, I don't know if that was a bolo tie. It could have been the microphone. I think it's the microphone. I can't imagine you go out wearing a bolo tie like that for your big swan song speech.
I didn't know North Carolina was a bolo type place. I associate that with like Montana.
I feel like it was the microphone. Nevertheless, Tom Tillis just basically told us the Republicans know this may be incredibly politically costly, and they don't care. They just robbed the bank, and they're getting in the drive-away car. They don't care. We'll talk more about this, obviously, in the fun half and tomorrow. In a moment, we're going to be talking to Ellie Mistel about the absolute crap show that the Supreme Court was in this term. This is what you get. This is what we all get. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.